At the end of the Sodor railway is a station where the engines from the mainland take their passengers home. Because the mainland is mostly run by diesels these days, it's them that usually come to this station. But one day a visitor known as the Tornado came to the railway. And because he was low on coal and water, the Fat Controller allowed him to sleep at Tidmouth Sheds tonight. Gordon was excited. "You're a lucky engine," he said. "I remember being young and green and working on the mainland. Ah, those were the days. I can still remember the noise of the crowd, and the smoke rising into the air and hovering at the roof at King's Cross Station." "King's Cross?" said Tornado. "I'm sorry to argue with you, Gordon, but I think you find it's Euston." "Rubbish," said Duck. "It's Paddington. I know. I used to work there." The three engines argued until they decided to go to sleep. They said goodbye to Tornado and he went back to his own railway. But Gordon was still grumpy. "Silly thing," he said. "It's King's Cross. I know." "Silly yourself," said Duck. "It's Paddington. Definitely Paddington." "Be quiet," said James. He had been up all night doing night trains and wanted to get some sleep. "Besides, you two are agreed about something." "What's that?" asked the two engines. "The big city is not Euston. Now please let me get some sleep." So the two engines rolled away to work. But Gordon was more determined than ever. "It's King's Cross. I'll prove it." But that was easier said than done. At the big station at the end of the line, Gordon pulls his express there. The passengers get off the train and board a diesel engine ready to go to London. As Gordon watched the diesel pull away with his passengers, an idea flew into his funnel. "If I didn't stop at this station, I could go right through to London." So the next day, he ran right through the platform, but was stopped by the signalman. Next day, he tried moving off before he was uncoupled from the train, but the guard only put the brake on his train. He tried all sorts of tricks. In fact, he was lucky not to get in trouble with Sir Topham Hatt. The next day, Gordon went to the big city again. He decided this time not to play any tricks, especially as the Fat Controller was on board. He rolled into the station and went to a siding to fill up on coal and water. While he was there, he noticed something. The passengers got to the platform, but there was no engine. No diesel was there to take them home. "That's strange," thought Gordon. Then he heard anger. Angry passengers had gathered at the booking office. "Where's our engine?" one shouted. "What's going on?" said another. Just then a guard's whistle was heard. It was the Fat Controller. He spoke to the crowd. Then he ran over to Gordon. "The diesel engine has broken down on the points on the other railway's yards," he said. "No other engine can get in and out of the yard. Gordon, fancy a run to London?" Gordon's face lit up. Come on," he shouted. And he ran round to the coaches. Because none of the other railway coaches were there either, he had to take his own coaches to London as well. Those coaches were excited. We're going to town," they shouted. It only took a few minutes for all the passengers to get on board and for the guard's whistle to blow, but Gordon felt it was ages. Come on," shouted Gordon as he raced to London. London was farther than Gordon remembered, but he didn't mind. "Never mind," he said. "I like a good long one to stretch my wheels." But all the same, he was happy when London finally came into view. He rolled along the iron bridges until he arrived at the big station. News seemed to have spread about Gordon coming, because there were photographers and reporters everywhere. Gordon had his picture taken from so many directions he didn't know which way to look. He was feeling very happy, until he saw the sign of the station. It wasn't King's Cross, it wasn't Euston, or Paddington. It was St. Pancras. Gordon had travelled all the way up to London with a passenger train. He was looking forward to the trip back home. But the manager of the other railway decided that Gordon should stay the night, to rest his weary wheels. Gordon went up to the engine shed. He was expecting it to be full of diesels, but he was surprised. At one end of the shed was a green engine Gordon hadn't seen for a while. "Hello," he said. "Are you Alice?" The big green engine was surprised. "Gordy," she said. "Yes, it's been far too long." The two engines were old friends who used to work together. Gordon was surprised and happy to see his old friend. They started talking into the night. Gordon told her how he was rescued by Sir Topham Hatt and brought to Sodor, and Alice told Gordon how she ended up on the other railway. "My railway closed down. Now I stay here. I only come out for special trains. Sometimes I stay in this shed for a whole month." Gordon was surprised. "Well, we can't have that," said Gordon, and he started making a plan. Next day, Gordon spoke to the fitter, who volunteered to look after Gordon while he was in London. Once he told the fitter his plan, the fitter ran off and started work. Later that day, the fitter went out to a post train on its way to Sodor and posted a letter. Alice asked Gordon what was going on, but Gordon decided to keep it a surprise. Later that day, the fitter was lighting Gordon's fire. He asked if they can light Alice's fire as well. The fitters decided to do so. As Alice was only taken out yesterday, it was easy to light her fire. Soon the two engines started talking again. They talked about how they used to pull the express trains on their lines. "I was the express engine on my line," she said. "I pulled the express on the Sodor line. They are heavy trains." "No, they are not," said a familiar voice. Around the corner came a Class 40 diesel that Gordon remembered all too well. "You," he said. "Still causing trouble, are you?" he asked. The diesel smirked. "Ha," said the diesel. "We diesels don't make as much trouble as you. We are the future. We are superior. We never make mistakes. Steam engines always do. We diesels never make mistakes. Soon Sodor will be run by diesels, very soon. I promise you that." "Never make mistakes, eh?" said Gordon. "What about that bowler hat you sucked into your air vent once?" The diesel was cross. That could have happened to any diesel, but to make a mistake like bump the trucks or have a runaway, that is a mistake a diesel would never make. And he rolled away. Alice felt upset. "What if he's right?" she said. "What if diesels are taking over everywhere?" "Don't worry," said Gordon. "That will never happen on Sir Topham Hatt's railway." But Gordon was cross the Class 40 diesel, and he wanted to pay the diesel out. but unknown to Gordon, he had no need to do that. Later that day, 2 diesels had broken down, so the Class 40 diesel had to take their passenger train. "Now look at me, Gordon and Alice," he said, "and I'll show you how a diesel does his job." And the diesel rolled up to his coaches. Then there was trouble. The Class 40 diesel went too fast and too hard. He bumped the first coach and derailed it. The Class 40 diesel felt very foolish, but it felt even more silly when the angry crowd started arguing. "We won't ride in such a dangerous and clumsy engine," they said. "Get another one," they shouted. So the Class 40 diesel was told to go back to his sheds. Gordon and Alice were trying not to laugh. "I thought diesels never make mistakes," said Alice to Gordon. "I know," said Gordon. "I think the words he is looking for are, 'Oh, daring dignity.'" The diesel went quiet and pretended not to hear him. The manager went up to the diesel. "You bad diesel," he said. "Now thanks to you, those passengers are saying bad things about my railway. And you've broken the coaches. Now we can't get those passengers home. We'll have to refund their money." But Gordon spoke up. "What if I pulled the train? I've still got my coaches, and I'm sure Alice wouldn't mind giving me a hand." Alice was surprised. The manager thought about this. It was the only solution that came to mind. "Very well, Gordon," he said. "You both can go." Gordon was pleased. Soon the passengers got inside Gordon's coaches, and Gordon coupled up to coaches with Alice coupled up in front. Come on," said Alice. "Time to go." Gordon laughed. That seemed to remind him of himself. Soon the 2 engines were rocketing down the London tracks. And into the English countryside. Later that night, Gordon and Alice returned to their sheds. The manager thanked them both. Alice was happy. "I haven't had a run like that in years," she said. Gordon was pleased. "It feels good to pull the express with somebody, especially someone who can keep up," he teased. But soon the smile was gone from Alice's face. "It was nice, but I think that might be my last one. They're sure to scrap me soon." Gordon looked. "They won't scrap you. I'll make sure of that." And the 2 engines went to sleep. Next day the shed doors were thrown open, and the manager and the fitter came running in to see Gordon and Alice. "Wake up, you 2, they shouted. "We've got a letter from the Fat Controller." Gordon and Alice listened to the 2 as they read out the letter. "But I mustn't tell you any more, or I shall spoil the next story." Up in London, Gordon was excited. He had just got a letter from Sir Topham Hatt. He had received his letter about Alice, and now Alice was going to come back to Sodor. Gordon was excited, and so was Alice. "Do you think I'll like it on Sodor?" she asked. "Of course you will," said Gordon, and they went outside, but it came to a surprise. It had snowed in the night, and all of London was covered in a blanket of white snow. "Whoa," said Gordon. "I've never seen London when it snows." The railway manager came up to them. "I'm afraid it's worse than you think. The snow's all right here, but it's got even thicker at Sodor. You might find it difficult to get home." "Nah," said Gordon. "I'll get home no matter what. Come on, Alice, let's go." So they found the coaches. Alice coupled up to them, and Gordon coupled up in front of her. "Right, let's go. We'll be home in time." And they hurried away back to Sodor. Meanwhile in Sodor, Henry was talking to Thomas. "Ah, snow," said Thomas. "I hate the snow." "What's the matter with snow? Nice white stuff it is." "Yes," said Thomas, "but it means I'll have to wear my snowplough soon." "I hate my snowplough." Just then, Donald and Douglas arrived with their snowploughs. They didn't look happy. "Sorry to tell you to this, but the snow's got very thick, especially on the tracks to Vickerstown Bridge. We don't know if Gordon will be able to get home." The two engines were upset. They were looking forward to Gordon coming home. Meanwhile, Gordon was making excellent time, and got to Barrow in Furness station before they were stopped by a red flag. "Sorry you two, but the snow's very thick on the other side of the bridge. There's no way you'll be able to get through that." Gordon was upset, and I was looking forward to getting home as well. "There must be a way," asked Alice, and everyone began thinking. Just then a workman spoke up. "What about old Joe? He might be able to get through the snow." "Who's old Joe?" asked Gordon. "He's a snowplough that we used to use, but he's old now, and we leave him in a shed." Gordon was thinking. He bet he could get through if he had a snowplough. "Take me to old Joe. I must speak to him at once." So Gordon and Alice went inside the shed with the workmen. There, at the back of the shed, was a giant rusty snowplough. He was also fast asleep. "Hello," said Gordon. "Ah, why did you have to wake me from my sleep?" said the snowplough crossly. "Your help is needed. I need to get home to Sodor." "Pah!" said the snowplough. "I've got better things to do than help engines with snow. Besides, I want to get back to sleep." "You want to sleep at this time?" said Gordon. "You can be really useful." "Pah! They don't need me to be really useful. I've been in the back of this shed for 20 years. See, no one needs me any more." "You're wrong," said Alice. "Without you, we won't be able to get home. I'm on my way to Sodor for the very first time. And I'm sure if we ask the Fat Controller, you can stay as well. It's either that or stay in this shed." The snowplough thought about this. "Oh, all right," he said. "But I'm only doing this for the green engine. I hate it when snow whacks into my face." So Gordon coupled up to the back of the snowplough, and Alice took charge of the passenger trains. When Gordon was ready, he and old Joe led the lead, with Alice following right behind him. Soon they came to their first snowdrift. Snow flew into old Joe's face. "Watch it," he said. But Gordon took no notice. "We must get home in time," and they went through the snow as fast as they could. In fact, Sir Topham Hatt was surprised when Gordon, Alice, and old Joe finally reached Knapford Station. "Am I late?" asked Gordon. The Fat Controller laughed. "Ho ho ho ho! Good to have you back, Gordon. And it's good to have you here as well, Alice. Your help will be needed on the main line." The two engines were pleased. Then the Fat Controller went to old Joe. "I've heard about you as well. Thank you for getting my two engines home." And old Joe smiled for the first time in years. "You better go to the works as well. We cannot have a rusty snowplough on this railway." That night, Gordon and Alice went to Tidmarsh Sheds and slept with the other engines. Gordon told them all about his stories, and Alice told them all about her stories as well. Nowadays, you'll find Alice pulling passenger trains along the main line and taking the express when Gordon needs a rest. She loves being on Sodor now, and she and Gordon are now great friends. And as for old Joe, he was restored to as good as new. He now helps Donald and Douglas with the snow trains. And when there is no snow, he's left in the shed at Knapford Station, so he can see all the engines hard at work. And he was never lonely from that day on.